Didn't you think it was a trifle unnecessary to see the crack in the Indian's bottom?
Yes, absolutely.
Wayne's World is absolutely insane. It's the kind of movie where you only need to watch a few minutes and a whole generation remembers it right away, and even now, it's still a blast to watch again. But when you look at the real lives of the cast, you realize this movie was even crazier than that. Somebody got tangled up in a sex tape scandal. Somebody got into a relationship full of heroin, got pregnant, then had an abortion at 17. And somebody else, Lord have mercy, had such rotten luck that he ended up in heart surgery where they bypassed the wrong artery. You think I'm just hyping it up to make it sound good? Nope. Today we're going to look back at every face from Wayne's World after 34 years, see what time has done to them, and why their real lives were sometimes even wilder than the movie. And make sure you stay tuned, because after all those shocks, I've still got 5 fun behind-the-scenes facts. Number 1, Mike Myers.
That's right, it's just a little different. Contractor, no, I will not bow to his sponsor.
Easily 200 takes over 2 nights in some town.
His father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's back in 1987, then passed away in 1992 right before Wayne's World truly blew up. Myers was hit so hard by it that for almost 2 years he barely wrote or performed anything meaningful. That wasn't just sadness anymore. That was being completely lost. Then came the price of his own ambition and personality. Myers clashed with director Penelope Spheris starting back in the Wayne's World days. Later, the movie project based on the character Dieter fell apart. Universal sued him for not fulfilling the contract, and people in the industry started pinning a label on him. It was real hard to shake. Unbelievably talented, but also unbelievably hard to work with. His personal life wasn't very home. He married Robin Wilson in 2005 after 12 years together. Success losing his father career contract failed marriage. This year, Mike Myers is 63. He lives more privately than most and rarely shows up, but he still came back to SNL in 2025. And it was the instant to remind audiences why he was crazy. Mike might be stubborn. He might drive people crazy. But Wayne Campbell could only have been created by exactly that kind of person. Number 2, Dana Carvey. Already 37, a bit older than Mike Myers. Even before this movie, he was already a star on set. Carvey himself, Garth was inspired by his brother Brad Carvey, a technically smart guy, kind of reserved and a little out of step with society. After Wayne's World, Dana Carvey didn't blow up the way Mike Myers did. He had the Dana Carvey Show in 1996, but it only lasted 7 episodes before getting canceled, even though later on people saw it as a show way ahead of its time because it brought together Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert. Then his life turned in a much heavier direction. In 1998, Carvey had to undergo heart surgery, but the doctors bypassed the wrong artery. He kept suffering, had to go through more treatment, then sued over the medical mistake. That wasn't some small piece of bad luck. That was something that nearly killed him. After that ordeal, Carvey deliberately stepped away from Hollywood for a long stretch to take care of his health and spend time with his family. But the most painful blow came much later. In November 2023, his son Dex Carvey died at the age of 32. Early in 2024, the medical examiner confirmed it was an accidental overdose involving fentanyl, ketamine, and cocaine. For a father, that's the kind of pain there's just no tidy way to tell. This year, Dana Carvey is 71. He's still sharp, still doing the podcast, fly on the wall, still came back changed her life. She even walked away from a chance that was this close to Baywatch just to audition for this movie, and that turned out to be exactly the right move. After the movie, she didn't drift away the way a lot of beautiful Hollywood faces from the early 90s did. Carrere kept going with Rising Sun True Lies that led Relic Hunter for multiple seasons. After that, she also built a lane for herself in music and won 2 Grammy Awards. From a distance, that looks like a pretty nice journey, but her private life didn't move in a straight line. Carrere's childhood already had plenty of cracks when her parents split up and she was left behind in Hawaii with her grandmother during a deeply sad stretch. Then, when she got to Los Angeles at a very young age, she put her trust in a man who was both her boyfriend and her manager, only for him to take all her money. Carrere said he was a black woman with a few $100s left in her pocket. That was a real fall, not some made-up tragedy for the tabloids. Hollywood wasn't gentle with her either. Carrere talked about auditioning in hotel rooms like it was almost a normal thing back then, and she directly mentioned one deeply uncomfortable encounter with Steven Seagal. Her personal life later on wasn't any calmer either, with 2 failed marriages, the last one ending with a divorce filing she made herself in 2010. This year, Tia Carrere is 59, still working, and has come back in the live-action version of Lilo and Stitch. Number 4, Rob Lowe as Benjamin. Before showing up in Wayne's World, Rob Lowe had already climbed to the top and fallen right off it. The sex tape scandal in 1988 brought his golden 80s image down real fast, especially since one of the people in the tape was only 16. So when Wayne's World came out in 1992, Lowe did not step into that movie like some young guy on the rise anymore. He stepped into it as a star trying to rebuild himself. Born in 1964, Lowe was 28 when he played Benjamin Oliver, that slick, polished television executive who was so slippery the audience could tell right away they shouldn't trust him. Honestly, this was the kind of role that fit him in an almost dangerous way. Rob Lowe got famous way too early, got into alcohol and drugs at a young age, then let the 1988 scandal slam right into his career. But the hardest blow came in a quieter way in 1990 when his grandfather had a heart attack. Lowe was not sober enough to be there for his family. He later said that was the real wake-up call, the thing that led him into Sierra Tucson rehab and started the stretch of sobriety that has lasted from 1990 until now. Later on, Lowe even said flat out that looking back, that scandal was actually one of the best things that ever happened to him because it forced him to stop. In 1991, he married Cheryl Burkham. They had 2 sons and stayed together for more than 30 years. This year, Rob Lowe is 62, still working steadily, hosting The Floor, doing podcasts, and continuing to reinvent himself. Rob said that he become truly admirable and director, and built it with their own hands. He's one of them. Number 5, Lara Flynn Boyle as Stacy. There are actresses who don't lose momentum because they run out of talent. They get worn down by capitalism. Lara Flynn Boyle is one of those cases. Born in the 1970s, she was 22 when they made her. Then, she was already famous because of Twin Peaks. In the movie, Stacy was just Wayne's clingy ex, but Boyle turned that small role into a face audiences remembered right away, especially the gun rack scene and the crazy moment at the end of the movie. Wayne's World wasn't the first explosion point of her career. It was one link in a period where she was rising really fast. I think anybody would feel a little heavy hearing about her personal life. Her father walked out when Boyle was only 6, and she was raised by her mother and was diagnosed with dyslexia. Then once she became famous, the tabloids ripped into her without mercy, from her very thin body to her clothes to her relationship with Jack Nicholson, who was 33 years older than her. In 2024, Boyle said very plainly that she used to be targeted by paparazzi to the point that they photographed her taking out the trash, then made headlines out of a photo of her holding a bottle of Johnny Walker in a car. She also said she went through #MeToo type situations, walked out of meetings, and paid the price for doing it. Boyle's career was no lightweight. The practice got her an Emmy nomination. Then Men in Black 2 kept her name in the big studio movie land. But years later, her public image got overshadowed by her personal life and appearance, and that cost her work. Around 2019, she quit drinking And now Boyle says she never really left Hollywood. She just lives more privately, works more selectively, and has kept a stable marriage with Donald Ray Thomas since 2006. This year, she is 56. Lara, some faces get remembered because they were beautiful. She's remembered longer because she survived the period of Hollywood. Number 6, Brian. Murray is Noah Vanderhoff. Not everybody in Wayne's World has some loud person forever. With Brian Doyle-Murray, the story feels heavy in a different way. He was born in 1945, and this year he is 81. The movie came out in 1992, he was 47. Playing Noah Vanderhoff, the owner of the arcade chain that represented everything Campbell hated most about sponsorship and the smell of commercialization. Before stepping into this movie, Brian was already a veteran from National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live with 3 Emmy nominations for writing. To put it the right way, he did not rise because of Wayne's World. He brought a whole lifetime of seasoned comedy into it. Brian grew up in a big Irish-American family in the Chicago area. His father died in 1967 from complications of diabetes. His mother died in 1988 from cancer. Then in 2020, the family also lost eldest brother Ed Murray. That's the kind of private life that isn't loud but quietly keeps taking away one support beam after another. Then, in 2022, Brian himself had to speak publicly about treatment for heart and lung disease. One source from the University of Kansas Health System even said he suffered a collapsed lung and had to stay in the hospital longer. He married Christina Stauffer in 2000 and has followed a path that's rare in Hollywood living, steady working long and keeping the noise low. Outside film, he also left a mark on Sullivan and Son the Middle, and especially as the voice of the Flying Dutchman on SpongeBob. Number 7, Frank DiLeo as Frankie, Mr. Big Sharp. Frank DiLeo only showed up for a few minutes in Wayne's World, but his real life is even more like a movie than the role itself. When the film came out in 1992, DiLeo was 45, and Frankie, Mr. Big Sharp was almost a movie version of the man himself, a short, heavy record business boss with a cigar in his hand, talking like somebody more used to giving orders than negotiating. Before stepping into the movie, DiLeo was already a real force in the music business. Somebody who helped Epic Records surge forward and who managed Michael Jackson from 1984 to 1989. To put it plainly, Wayne's World did not make Frank
Contract
DiLeo
guaranteeing him
famous.
certain
The movie just
concessions.
borrowed the
One of them-
exact presence he had.
I'm sorry, no.
DiLeo's private life got heavy through health issues and some brutal turns. By the end of the Bad World tour,
Frog had the
he
wings
got
in with him,
dangerous
bump his
enough
ass when he
to be
hopped.
diagnosed with diabetes, then got fired by Jackson while the press was swarming all around him. From that ball, he unexpectedly turned toward movies with Goodfellas, then lived more quietly for the sake of his family. The Nashville scene reported that he had been with his wife Linda for 31 years and moved so he could be closer to his son Dominic and daughter Melinda. Illness did not let him go. By 2004, he was blind because of diabetic retinopathy complications, and it took 4 surgeries for him to regain most of his sight. In 2011, after a heart attack and heart surgery, Frank DiLeo died from post-operative complications at the age of 63. Before he passed, he had even come back to manage Jackson again. In 2009, was there at UCLA when the singer was pronounced dead, and in early 2011, he was still planning to write a book to tell his side of his life story. Frankie was only a supporting role in Wayne's World. But some people walk across the screen for a few minutes and still leave behind the exact feeling of a player who really lived a whole life. Number 8, Michael DeLuise as Alan. Not everybody in Wayne's World had a scandal-filled private life that pulled viewers in closer. With Michael DeLuise, the story feels heavy in a much quieter way. He was born in 1969, and this year he is 57. When the movie came out in 1992, he was only 23 and played Alan, one of Wayne and Garth's headbanger friends. It was not a big role, but Michael DeLuise had the kind of face American TV audiences would recognize right away. Before Wayne's World, he already had momentum from 21 Jump Street, and after that he kept going with Sequest, DSVNY, PD Blue, and Gilmore Girls. Put simply, he was not some breakout star. house where just about everybody was in the business, but that legacy came with two very real losses. In 2009, his father passed away in his sleep after a long stretch of illness, and Michael was the one who broke that news to the public. 11 years later, his mother also passed away after a long battle with Alzheimer's. No major scandal ever clung to Michael DeLuise. No tabloid-style collapse. But maybe that is exactly why his story carries a different kind of weight than the spotlight, and forced to watch that light slowly go out on his own parents. Michael once said he did not truly decide to pursue acting until after a trip through Europe following graduation. Over time, he gradually stepped back from acting and privately. Michael, some people do not leave behind one huge explosion. They leave behind a feeling of a decent, steady career. Sometimes that lasts longer. Number 9, Kurt Fuller as Russell Finley. Fuller was born in 1953, and this year he is 73. When Wayne's World came out in 1992, he was 39 and played Russell Finley, that slick TV producer who felt cold, polished, and full of behind-the-scenes power. Fuller said he got the role after a script reading that made Lorne Michaels laugh, and at the time, almost nobody on the team had any idea the movie was going to become such a phenomenon. Kurt Fuller has been married to Jessica Henry since 1993 and has 2 daughters, Julia and Charlotte. Fuller himself once said that having kids changed him completely, less sarcastic, less bitter, softer as a person. Change actually helped extend his career. That detail feels very grounded, very real. Some people do not get knocked around by scandal. They get reshaped by family. Fuller is that kind of man. After Wayne's World, he took the harder road and the steadier road. Hollywood's most reliable character actors with Ghostbusters, 2 scary movie psych Supernatural, and a whole lot of major TV shows. Fuller once said he always had a peaceful exit to his wife and kids. Number 10, Meatloaf as Tiny. Before he became Meatloaf, Marvin Lee. Day grew up in a house rough enough to ruin a man's whole life. His father was an alcoholic and had beaten him, and after his mother's funeral in 1967, he even came at his son with a knife. His mother died of cancer. That was the real breaking point, and it was also the push that got him out of Texas and headed to Los Angeles. When Wayne's World came out in 1992, Meatloaf was 45 and played Tiny the bouncer at the gasworks. The role was brief, but it fit him perfectly. Big, rough around the edges, real rock and roll, no need to force it. Meatloaf's private life stayed heavy because he did not stop with childhood. After his first wave of success, he struggled with vocal cord strain, then had a stretch of nearly 5 years when he could hardly work at all. He said he fell apart, mentally turned to alcohol for months, and went through a real breakdown before therapy and family helped him. Then the health problems kept hanging on. He collapsed on stage in London in 2003, was diagnosed with Wolf Parkinson-White syndrome. Then later collapsed from asthma in 2011, went down again in 2016, had to undergo emergency back surgery, and near the end of his life, he needed a cane, and at times used a wheelchair. That was a body that had paid way too much for the way he lived and performed. He divorced Leslie Edmonds in 2001, married Deborah Gillespie in 2007. By the end of his life, still leaned on family as his anchor. Meatloaf died in 2022 at 75 years old by the calendar with his wife and 2 daughters by his side. Meet some people on the show for 30 minutes and looking across the screen, the same dream he lived, loud, hurting, and impossible to mistake for anybody else. Number 11, Donna Dixon as Dreamwoman. Donna Dixon came into Hollywood after television and film. She was born in 1957, and this year she is 69. When Wayne's World came out in 1992, Dixon was 35 and played Dreamwoman, a role that did not last long, but still stuck in people's minds right away. Before that, she already had a beautiful resume as Virginia, USA. 1976 was District of Columbia World. 1977, breaking out on television as Sunny and Bosom Buddies on Southern Talk. No breaks. Donna Dixon met Dan Aykroyd when the two of them were making Dr. Detroit in 1983, then married him that very same year. They had 3 daughters and stayed together for almost 40 years, which is no small thing in Hollywood. Then in 2022, the two of them announced their separation after 39 years together, but the part worth noticing is that they did not turn it into some public war. In a statement sent to people, both of them made it clear they were still legally married, still parents, co-workers, business partners, and still held on to what they called a loving friendship. In a place where a lot of breakups end in blame and lawsuits, the way they closed, this chapter felt very different. Donna Dixon's career later became more spaced out. She still did a few more movies like Exit to Eden and Nixon, then mostly stepped away from the center of the screen, but that did not really feel like a collapse. It felt more like a deliberate step back. Number 12, Ione Skye as Elyse. Ione Skye only drifted through Wayne's World in a small role. When you look at her life, Elyse feels almost like a side note. Skye was born in 1970, and this year she is 56. When Wayne's World came out in 1992, she was only 22, but even before that, she was already a familiar face to the late 1980s generation because of River's edge and especially Say Anything. She had that exact kind of it girl look that fit the era perfectly. The problem was her life didn't follow that look. She grew up with the feeling of being left behind. Her father was Donovan, but Ione Skye did not have a steady anchor in childhood. At 16, she got into a relationship with Anthony Kiedis when he was already 24 and struggling with heroin. At 17, she got pregnant and then had an abortion. Skye told the part of her life not like some shock story to sell books, but like the truth she had finally grown old enough to face head on. She'd grown up too fast, loved too fast, and gone through things that were way too heavy while she was still just a girl. And those collisions did not stop once she got older. Ione Skye married Adam Horovitz of the Beastie Boys in 1992, then divorced in 2000. In that same memoir, she admitted to infidelity, to discovering her bisexuality, and to periods in life where alcohol and drugs passed through. What makes this section memorable is not the gossip. It is the fact that she is no longer letting other people tell her life story for her. Later on, she had a child with David Netto, then married Ben Lee in 2008, had another daughter, and settled into a more stable life. Ione Skye finally rewrote her own life in her own voice, and after a name that moved through youth in such an intense way, the final name today comes with a completely different rhythm. Mike Hagerty. Number 13, Mike Hagerty as Davey. There are faces who keep their private lives so sealed off their whole lives that when they pass away, the first thing people remember is not scandal, but that they were a devoted husband and a true Chicago guy. Mike Hagerty was that guy. He was born in 1954. Wayne's World came out in 1992. He was 38. It was not a big role, but Hagerty never needed it for people to remember. He was the kind of character actor American audiences could recognize in a second, even if it took them a few more seconds to remember his name. What matters more sits in his private life. Mike Hagerty was born in Chicago into an Irish Catholic family with a father who worked as a cop, and he grew up with exactly the kind of working-class American energy he later carried onto the screen for decades. He met Mary Catherine in a little theater in Chicago when they were both still young. Later on, the family made it very clear that Chicago and family were the two biggest pillars of his life. For Hagerty, that was not just something nice to say. Looking at his public record, there is almost no chain of scandal there to dig through. What is left is a steady marriage, a long love for his hometown, and a private life that was rare in Hollywood. His career lasted exactly that same way. From Fred Seinfeld and Lucky Louie to Somebody Somewhere, Hagerty was always the guy who made the background feel fully alive. He died unexpectedly after a short illness in May 2022 at the age of 67, bringing a whole life to a close, and his name closes out today's list too. We made it through the Wayne's World cast, and if you are still sitting here with me, then let me tell you a few little things from behind the movie, and the fun part is once you hear them, you realize Wayne's World really could only have been Wayne's World. There's one scene a lot of people remember, but not many notice that it is funny in a really specific way. It is the scene where Wayne and Cassandra talk in Cantonese. On screen, it looks like Wayne is trying to be romantic and understanding, but in real life, Tia Carrere actually had no idea what Mike Myers was saying. The simple reason is Mike was improvising on the spot and he did not actually know Chinese anyway. Then there is Alice Cooper. This is exactly the kind of story that makes you go, yep, that was movie making back then. He came to the set thinking it would be simple, sing a little, say a few lines and be done. Then he got there and suddenly got handed a long monologue about the history of Milwaukee that he had to learn fast. And the funny part is Alice Cooper pulled it off just fine. But if we are talking about the most iconic scene in the whole movie, it still has to be Bohemian Rhapsody in the car. On screen, it is pure fun, totally natural, and exactly the right kind of rebellious young energy. But after filming that scene, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey actually had sore necks. The two of them shook their heads so much from so many angles, so many takes, that in later scenes they had to try to move their necks as little as possible. And Dana Carvey, in this movie, has one detail that feels very Garth. In the scene inside the music store, the real drumming is actually Dana. That part is real. But then in the Bohemian Rhapsody scene, there was one funny little twist. He did not know all the lyrics before filming. So if you look closely, you can see Garth looking really fired up, really into it, but the singing along feels a little fuzzy. And then there is one last thing that always makes me look at Wayne's World with a different feeling. Mike Myers once said that making this movie feels like a blurred out memory for him, because right around that time, his father's health was failing, and then he passed away. What stays with me is not just how much they've changed after 34 years. What stays with me even more is the feeling that time really has passed. On the surface, this movie is loud, silly, goofy, very early 1990s. Looking at it now, it feels like one surviving piece of horror. What I want to know most is who you think changed the most, who surprised you the most, and which name made you stop the longest when you looked back today. Leave me a comment and let me know. Weird Movie Secrets is still a small channel, and honestly, I think that is a really good thing because it means I can still read every one of your comments, and I always try to reply to all of them too. That is how you and I get to talk and how we keep these classic movies alive together.